Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. This is Krishna Dasa. So today we are going to cover some of the most profound teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. So before I begin, I'll say the prayer to Guru and God. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Chalake Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hare Krishna. I'm going to play the slokas and I will also first play the Guru Mantra.
Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Hare Krishna. So today we are going to cover slokas 18.56 to 18.66. So I'll play the slokas now.
सर्वकर्माण्यपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद्व्यपाश्रयः मत्प्रसादादवाप्नोति शाश्वतं पदमव्ययम् चेतसा सर्वकर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परः बुद्धियोगमुपाश्रित्य मच्चित्तः सततं भव मच्चित्तः सर्वदुर्गाणि मत्प्रसादात् तरिष्यसि अथ चेत्त्वमहङ्कारान् न श्रोष्यसि विनङ्क्ष्यसि यदहङ्कारमाश्रित्य न योत्स्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्यैष व्यवसायस्ते प्रकृतिस्त्वां नियोक्ष्यति स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धः स्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यस्य वशोऽपि तत् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया तमेव शरणं गच्छ सर्वभावेन भारत तत्प्रसादात् परां शान्तिं स्थानं प्राप्स्यसि शाश्वतम् इति ते ज्ञानमाख्यातं गुह्यात् गुह्यतरं मया विमृशैतदशेषेण यथेच्छसि तथा कुरु सर्वगुह्यतमं भूयः शृणु मे परमं वचः इष्टोऽसि मे दृढमिति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितम् मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्यसि सत्यं ते प्रतिजाने प्रियोऽसि मे सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Okay, I think Diksha ji, you're going to read today?
Yes, Guruji. Shall I begin?
Yes, please start.
18.16. Though performing all actions always, one who takes shelter in me attains the eternal imperishable abode by me, by my grace. 18.57. Dedicating all actions to me, being devoted to me, taking refuge in Buddhi Yoga, always fix your mind on me and keep your conscience absorbed in me. 18.58. With your mind fixed on me, you will overcome all difficulties by my grace. But if out of false ego you don't listen to my advice, you will pursue. 18.59. If motivated by pride you think I shall not fight, your determination will be futile, as your own nature will compel you to fight. 18.60. O son of Kunti, being bound by your own karma, arising out of your own nature, that which you don't wish to do, out of delusion, you will be compelled to do helplessly.
Okay, I think we She has a network issue. So 18.61, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, causing them to revolve as if mounted on a machine by his power of Maya. 18.62, O descendant of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. 18.63, thus I have explained to you this knowledge which is more confidential than other confidential knowledge. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. 18.64, because you are very dear to me, my supreme instruction, which is the most secret of all, hear this again from me as it tells you what is good for you. 18.65, always think of me, be devoted to me, worship me, and offer obeisance to me. Doing so, you will certainly come to me. This is my promise to you, for you are very dear to me. And 16.66, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So very, very powerful set of slokas here. So let us begin our explanation on this set of verses, okay? So I can title this entire set of verses, I can say that they are basically the teaching of complete surrender. It's the science of surrender. That's what now he's going to go into details. So after 17 chapters of profound spiritual instruction on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, now we arrive, and this is what can be considered as the most revolutionary moment in all spiritual literature, because you see, if you notice, Arjuna, when he began the conversation, he was in total psychological paralysis. He didn't want to fight. He was full of grief, full of confusion, and he was questioning. He was questioning everything. Nothing made sense to him. That was his state. And then how Krishna responded? Very systematically. Krishna very systematically was building Arjuna's understanding. Layers of increasingly profound teachings. That's what Krishna was doing. And then Krishna revealed the eternal nature of the soul. What is the path of action? What is the path of knowledge? What is dhyana yoga? What is bhakti? So many things Krishna kept teaching, and imparting layer upon layer of wisdom. And each chapter was preparing Arjuna for further deeper insights. It is a very masterful teacher, because this is what any good teacher will do. Any good teacher, before they teach you any advanced concept, they will make sure that your fundamentals are clear. And then they will build upon it, slowly, gradually, and make you ready for something really profound. So now Arjuna is at a stage where he is ready. And that is why now comes the most profound of all teachings. This set of slokas, Krishna is calling it the supreme secret, or the most confidential of all. So you can say that what Krishna is teaching here, it is kind of the culmination. And this is what Krishna was building all this while, and this is what it is culminating in. So because here is where he is revealing the most transformative teaching. And this teaching is about surrender and divine grace. See, the thing is, why I said it's going to be very profound and why I said it may take a lot of time is because here it may feel like there is a stunning contradiction. It's like a movie. In a movie, very engaging movie, very interesting movie, very insightful movie, and everybody is watching it, everybody is understanding it in their own ways, and everybody is trying to figure out how this movie is going to now conclude. And towards the end, you see something absolutely unexpected. Just like in the beginning, Arjuna was saying, Krishna, you are my friend. And then he started crying, he started feeling all, sorry for himself. And then he was expecting that Krishna will just say, oh, my dear boy, my goody goody, my oogie oogie, my boogie boogie. But Krishna goes and shakes him up, shock treatment. Kutasva kashmalamidam, vishame samupastitam. So he is shaking him up. Arjuna was not prepared for that. See, just like that, after 17 chapters of knowledge and learning, we all have our own perceptions. We all have our own ideas now. And here now Krishna is going to bring a kind of conclusion that most of us would not have expected. So naturally it may feel like a contradiction. Naturally it may feel like, what's going on? You see, it is like as if in a picture, in a movie which you really liked and you're watching it for 3 hours, and suddenly you realize, oh, I thought this guy was a hero, I thought that guy was a villain, but what's going on? Like now nothing makes sense, everything seems mixed up now. So let us see the key part where there could be confusion, where people may see contradiction, is when in the final sloka of this set 18.66 he says, abandon all varieties of dharma and surrender to me. So here is where it becomes very hard to comprehend that what Krishna is really saying here, because actually what Krishna is teaching here is a fundamental transformation of consciousness itself. So it's very deep. And Krishna is going to now explain the science of liberation and what is important, what is not important. So let's all, fasten our seat belts and start this extremely profound journey now. Okay. So I just gave you a gist of what to expect. Now let's dive deeper into these very, very powerful slokas. So throughout human history, spiritual seekers, they have all struggled with a fundamental question. And this question has created a lot of division across traditions. What is the fundamental question? The question is, okay, let's see what is the teaching. The teaching, until recently we all said that effort is important. Even Krishna said, karmaneva adhikaraste, where he said, you have a right to your actions, rightful actions, correct? And then we also said that what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is liberation and realization. That is the ultimate goal. Now the question that has created confusion is, no matter how much efforts a human can put in, it's going to be limited. Because humans are limited. So if humans are limited, human effort is going to be limited. So how can a limited human effort achieve unlimited realization? And you see the apparent confusion that people have. It is like saying your minimum wage is like $20 per hour. And there are only 24 hours in a day. And they say that the goal of this salary is so that you can go and afford $1 trillion mansion. And then people are asking, it doesn't add up. Because there are only 24 hours a day, no matter how many hours I work. How is it possible that my efforts of even 24 hours a day will still get me something which is, infinitely more expensive or priceless? You can see this, because of this question, you can see that in religious thinking there has been a strong division based on how people tried to answer this question. So there is one set of traditions that will emphasize that everything depends on just self-effort. So as if they are saying you'll earn your liberation. And how you earn your liberation? Performance of spiritual practices, perfection in spiritual practices. Now what was the approach, the side effect of this kind of approach? Spiritual pride, burnout, anxiety because there is this feeling that I'm never good enough. Because this talks about effort and talks about perfect practice. So it becomes a very anxious and stressful process where the seeker is now spending a lot of their time measuring their progress and comparing themselves to others. That person has already done so much. How much have I done? Because the emphasis is on self-effort only. And there are other traditions who go the opposite direction. And they say, passive surrender. So they will say that, your effort is pointless. Human effort is worthless. All you need is divine grace. And that is what is important. Now, what is the outcome of this approach? Laziness, spiritual laziness, lack of any kind of genuine transformation. And this is the fatalistic attitude. Jo na hoga, jo bhi hona hoga. As if you are a, powerless piece of clay. And also what happens because of this approach? There is no personal accountability at all. See the problem of both approaches. Now here is where Krishna's genius comes in. His genius comes in transcending this division entirely. And he says that grace and effort, they work together. They are not contradicting each other. They are not competing with each other. Grace is not the opposite of effort. Krishna says they work together. That is his genius. He says they are partners. So beautiful, so profound. So his approach, now we will dive deep into his approach, and this is the genius. So he says that when we align our will with the divine will, our will, self-effort, divine will, grace. Krishna says when we align these two, our effort will become a channel through which the grace will flow. Now, this is what we said in the previous session. It's like tuning the radio. Effort is the tuning and grace is the signal. And they have to work together. Partnership. So how do this effort and grace dance together, work together? That's where Krishna is using the term Mat Prasadat, by my grace. No, it's a powerful word because this word indicates that the grace works through human effort, not in the absence of effort. See, very, very powerful. So it's like, you have a plant. And everybody knows that for a plant to grow, it needs sunlight. So sunlight is like that grace. However, is it enough if there is just sunlight? If that was the case, why don't plastic plants grow when you expose them to sunlight? Because this plant has to do some effort also. That effort is what in science we call as photosynthesis, where the plant has to take the sunlight and convert it into nutrition. That the plant has to do. But is it enough if the plant just does photosynthesis? No, it needs sunlight. Is it enough if there is just sunlight? No, you need photosynthesis. And when both of this happen together is when the magic happens. And that is Krishna's very, very beautiful, powerful teaching. And what happens, once we try to understand this, it will completely transform our relationship with all kind of spiritual practices that we do. For example, meditation, prayer, service. We think we are doing all of that. Why? We think we are all doing that to earn some divine favor, earn punya, or earn something, right? Is that not what somewhere, at least subconsciously, we think? Or earn good karma, something. That is how we look at it. Instead of that, once we understand this teaching, we will see all of those practices as just opportunities to prepare ourselves to receive more of that grace. You see how the shift happens. This is a very powerful shift. So in other words, all the practices we do, we will start looking at them as expressions of gratitude rather than efforts for some achievement. Now, very, very beautiful. I have tried my best and I've really worked very hard to condense these teachings to fit in a session, and it's extremely difficult, but I will try to do my best. At the end of the session, if you have questions, feel free to ask, because understanding this set of verses, I would say, pretty much will bring in a radical transformation in each one of us. And that is what is going to truly help us achieve our goal of self-realization and liberation. So, what does human effort provide? Let's quickly again look. Human effort will provide the preparation, the purification. And what does divine grace provide? The empowerment, the inspiration, the guidance. And they have to work together. When they work together, then the magic happens, which cannot happen just if one of them was active and the other was absent. So it is kind of a cooperative model. And also, at the heart of Krishna's final teaching is one of the most revolutionary spiritual truths. That very beautiful and revolutionary. That truth is that we are unconditionally loved by the divine consciousness. The word unconditional is very important here. Because then you don't have to do these achievement-oriented practices. Because there is nothing to achieve. If your goal is my love, and if I anyways love you unconditionally, then you have nothing to do to earn that love. You have nothing to do to achieve that love. There is no such thing. That love is there. It is unconditional. Then what will your efforts be for? It will be more focusing on relationship building. So Krishna's declaration, that is what he says, Ishto me dhridam. Saying, you are very dear to me. Dhridam. Dhridam is firm. That the divine love he is saying is unconditional. And my divine love is not dependent upon what you do, what you don't know. It doesn't depend on you being perfect. That is Krishna's powerful assurance here. So it seems to contradict conventional thinking, because conventional religion usually presents God's love as something that we have to earn. We have to earn it through good behavior. We have to earn it through good karma. We have to earn it through some kind of spiritual accomplishment. But then here Krishna's revelation is liberating us from that exhausting attempt to make ourselves worthy, because Krishna says you are already worthy. He says, I already love you unconditionally. Some of us who have kids, they will know that when a child feels loved, when a child feels cared for, you will see how they bloom. They, in Hindi we say, khil jate hain bacche, because when they know that they are loved, they flourish. And that is Krishna's goal here. And this is what psychologists, modern day psychologists, they call it as secure attachment. Because when we have that kind of assurance that we are loved and we are cared for, we naturally become more generous, more creative, and all of that. Because we are not worried. We are not worried about achieving love or getting love. Once we are sure it is there, we become better. The same thing applies here. When we have to connect with the divine, and if we are assured that the divine love is already there, it is unconditional, then hum bhi khil jayenge. We will also flourish. And then we are not going to be stressed and anxious about the practices that we do, about the knowledge we gain. We will be more focusing on, we just want to please God. Just like a child would just want to please their parents. And that is Krishna's message here. A very, very profound transformation. So understanding that we are unconditionally loved by the source of all existence, that provides the courage which is necessary for genuine spiritual transformation. This is where many great saints have said that we need to go beyond right and wrong. This is what Rumi also said. He said, there is a field beyond right and wrong. And I will meet you there. That is what that basically means. It doesn't mean that there is nothing called as right or nothing called as wrong. What it means is, if you are hung up there, we will never understand that what our purpose, our goal is unconditional love, which is already there. So then Krishna's command of abandon all dharmas, it will not seem that contradictory, because it is an apparent contradiction, not a real contradiction. There is some of us, especially in India, in Hindi they say, kaate ko kaate se nikalna hai. Have you heard that? So it basically means you remove a thorn using another thorn. If some of you have experienced this, I have experienced when I was a child. So when a thorn gets stuck in your feet, it usually goes deep inside your feet, and it's very hard you cannot pull it out because it has already gone in. So the way these villagers remove that thorn is they will bring another thorn and they will dig that thorn and take out the thorn that is already inside your feet. But what happens once you remove that thorn which was inside? Don't you throw it away? And what happens to the thorn that you used to remove this thorn? Don't you throw that thorn also away? That is the message here. The thorn that was stuck was wrong. The thorn that is removing it was right. But at the end of the day, you have to transcend both. The thorn that is stuck inside is adharma. The thorn that you are using to remove that is dharma. But at the end of the day, we have to transcend both. Because that divine, that ultimate truth lies beyond all of this, is the whole message. So, spiritual development is a progression. How can you look at that progression? First, we will talk about adharma. Adharma means negative, wrong. And then we say we have to be dharmic. And what is dharma? Righteous, correct, positive. And why do we use dharma? So that we can get rid of adharma. Is that not how Bhagavad Gita started? Is that not how Mahabharata's central piece of Mahabharata started, where Krishna's message is fight because you have to fight against adharma. So Pandavas were on the side of dharma, Kauravas were on the side of adharma. Is that not where it all started? But then the third level of progression is you have to transcend both dharma and adharma. You have to rise above both. And then we reach a state of pure spiritual awareness. Because in that pure spiritual awareness, in that realm, there is no right, there is no wrong, there is no dharma, there is no adharma. If there is, who is adharmic? You are adharmic, I am adharmic. But if there is no you, if there is no me, where is adharma? Because who is there to do anything adharmic? You see the point? The whole lesson here is the purpose of all of this, is to purify us, is to elevate us, is to raise our level of consciousness, and eventually we have to transcend all of that. The same message we studied even when we learned the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, if you remember, where Krishna said, Tamasic is absolutely you should avoid, Rajasic you have to overcome, and you have to become Sattvic, and he said, eventually you have to overcome that also. Because even that is a guna, and even sattva will create a bondage. And this is the perspective where Krishna is saying that, look at a river. A river naturally flows towards the ocean. It doesn't have to go fight with the banks. River doesn't do any fighting. It will naturally flow and naturally it will reach. Doesn't matter how many twists and turns it has to take, but it will naturally reach the ocean. He says just like that, a surrendered consciousness will naturally act in ways that serve the highest good for everyone involved. So the emphasis or focus is on a natural progression, a natural elevation will happen. We just have to not have blockages. That's the message here. Because for a lot of seekers, when the teaching says that you have to transcend dharma, what that means, it doesn't mean now you can be adharmic. That is a very wrong interpretation. When the message is you have to transcend dharma, what that means is we have to continue the spiritual practices, spiritual guidelines, while letting go of our desire to look very spiritual. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a very, I'm a devotee. I'm devoted. So many adjectives we put. And Krishna is saying that becomes a bondage now. Because that just increases your pride, increases your ego attachment and all of that. And he says that is exactly the opposite of what we are supposed to do. You see the whole point, right? So again, the key is that we have to approach all spiritual practices as offerings of love, not as attempts to gain something, not as attempts to even gain spiritual success. Like if you are doing meditation, if you are doing chanting, deep inside, the intention should not be, today I'm chanting so much, I'm somehow becoming a better devotee. The intention should not be, I'm somehow becoming spiritually advanced. You see, this is the Guhya knowledge. The knowledge is, your intention should only be, I'm making more offerings out of love. This is an offering of love. This is an expression of my gratitude. When I chant, I'm chanting because I'm expressing my gratitude. Make that shift and see the magic. That is one of the very powerful teachings of Krishna. And then Krishna also makes a very, very profound revelation. He's saying that the Supreme Lord resides in everyone's heart. And everybody revolves according to the divine will through the power of Maya. And this teaching is very important. It is addressing a lot of fundamental questions about the relationship between God and creation. People have been puzzled by it a lot. Because there have been, there is a belief, or there is a group of people, it is called pantheism. Pantheism is the idea that God and creation are identical. They are not separate, they are identical. And then there is this theistic dualism, Dvaita, which says that God and creation are completely separate. Again, two contrasting, beliefs. And Krishna is revealing a vision of divine presence, where Krishna is saying that neither of them is true and both of them are true. The key is the integration. You see, everywhere Krishna's teaching is all about integration. It's all about synergy. It is never about this or that. It's so beautiful. Maybe some of you may remember the analogy of a spider we took many lessons ago, where we discussed how a spider creates that intricate web, but it never gets stuck in it. Just like that, God is intimately involved in our life. He is the one creating our life, but He's not stuck in it. So you can say that God is involved also and He's not involved also. Both are true. He's involved because He's the one creating the web. He's not involved because He never gets stuck. You see, that is the beautiful integration that Krishna's teachings bring here. So God is completely present in every atom of creation. We spoke about all these types of Vishnu. Karanodakshi, Garbhodakshi, Kshirodakshi. That was the message. The message is He is present in every atom. Still, He is completely independent of all of creation. That is the nature of God. You see how it is beginning to get difficult to put it in words. That is why it has been said that the true nature of Brahman can only be realized. You have to be the spider for you to actually realize what it means to build a web without getting stuck in it. Because none of us can do that. Very, very beautiful. What happens is, if this lesson we internalize, then we will have a shift from seeking to recognize, and much of the anxiety will go away. If you see religious doctrines, religious rules, a lot of those things, they create a lot of anxiety, they create a lot of stress. People talk about rules, they talk about dogmas, they talk about commandments, and it's a lot of stress. If you don't do this, you go to hell. If you don't do this, you'll be punished. If you don't do this, you will be excommunicated. Does any of that sound pleasant? Does any of that sound loving? No, that's the problem. So Krishna is saying, I am already present in you and I already love you unconditionally. Your job is just to put in the efforts to get rid of the blockages, impurities, so that you can perceive my love. That is a very, very, transformatory, very, very powerful message. So, again, let us come back. Why this understanding is so important? Because with this realization, Our spiritual journey is no longer about trying to become something. Our spiritual journey now becomes just trying to remember what we already are. Just trying to realize what we already are. It is no longer about trying to become somebody. And this understanding will also solve some of the very deep, troubling questions we have all had. The questions like, this is the most common question people ask, especially these atheists. They will say, if God is present everywhere, why is there suffering? Have you not heard this question a million times? A very standard question. Now, Krishna's answer is very simple and also very profound. Krishna's answer says that yes, God is already present. He is present everywhere. But this suffering comes because of your forgetfulness of the divine presence. The suffering is not because there is absence of the divine. The suffering is because there is forgetfulness of that which is divine. No, that is the problem. So we become empowered and we become the creators of all this suffering. It's not that some external God is coming and putting suffering in our life. No. See, this is the question we had asked earlier in another session. You have all used a lamp or a torch. Okay, let us say the sun. Can this sun spread darkness? Is my question. How many of you think the sun can spread darkness? The question itself seems ridiculous. What do you mean sun can spread darkness? It cannot. Why the sun cannot spread darkness? Because that's not the nature of the sun. The nature of the sun is to just spread. Then how can you explain darkness? If sun was really the source of light, how can you explain darkness? No, then you will have a natural answer. You will say, well, it is the absence of sunlight that causes darkness, na? Either you are turning away from sun or you are blocking sunlight. When these two things happen, that is when there is darkness. It is not that the sun is spreading darkness, because it is not the nature of the sun. Just like that, it is not the nature of God to spread suffering. He is Satchidananda. God's nature is not that of suffering at all. So how can God spread suffering? The suffering happens when we turn away from God. The suffering happens when we block the grace of God. Very profound, beautiful, powerful answer to that very common question. And what is one of the key reasons for us blocking that grace? Any ideas? What do you think one of the main things that cause that block of grace, or that causes us not realizing that grace? Yeah, Simranji?
We can't surrender completely.
And why we don't surrender completely?
Bhava.
Okay, Chitraji wants to say something.
Is it due to our ego?
Thank you. That's ego, that's pride, and that is why Krishna has been hammering this so many times. Amanitvam, adambitvam, and then he says, pariprashnena, pranipatena, so many different ways. Why? Because that is the thing which is blocking us from being able to surrender. And surrender basically means I am removing the block so that grace can flow. So what is surrender? If we can go a little deeper into surrender, the surrender is not just a dramatic gesture. It is not that you just fall on the floor, fold your hands and say, I surrender. That is not real surrender. Surrender is a process. It's a systematic, transformative process. The process is what is called as Sharanagati. So Sharanagati is a well-known name, well-known term, but Sharanagati doesn't mean you do something dramatically once. Sharanagati is a process. What is the process? There are 6 stages defined for Sharanagati. The first stage is what is called as Anukulyasya Sankalpa. Accepting whatever pleases God. Second stage, Pratikulasya Varjana. Rejecting whatever displeases God. And then third stage, Rakshishyatiti Vishwasa. Faith that God will protect. And the fourth stage is Goptritve Varana, accepting God as the protector. So faith that He will protect, and then acceptance, accepting that God is my protector, accepting His protection. And then fifth, Atma Nikshepa, that is complete self-offering. And the sixth is Karpanya. Karpanya is total dependence and total humility. So like this, these are the stages, steps of surrender. This is how you reach Sharanagati. So the final stage is you are accepting completely. So the first stage, accept whatever pleases God. What does that even mean? That means align. This is where all these teachings of dharma and righteousness comes into play. The goal should be, that should help us understand what is it that is aligned with what God wants. And what is the second stage? Second stage, usually what happens when we have difficulties, usually what happens when we fail, we blame God. Usually what happens when we succeed, we take credit. Be honest, if you introspect, we have all done it in our lives. I got a degree in computer science because I studied, because I did well in the exam. I am a successful corporate leader because I worked hard, isn't it? Every success we want to take credit, it's our effort. But every failure, everything problematic, we blame God. Why is God doing it to me? Recently, I was having a very interesting discussion with, the name doesn't matter, but I was having a very interesting discussion with one of our members and their friend, and that friend told me that, there may be difficulties in my life that is forcing me to steal, but I'm angry at God. Why did God make me a thief? And I was asking, wow, you made a choice to steal and then you are angry that God made you a thief. You see the problem? But this is a very common problem. And so this is what these stages of surrender is telling us, to avoid these pitfalls. The middle stage was about generating unshakable faith. We have already studied this in earlier chapters. Then we begin to see how divine guidance has been working in our life all along. Then the final stage is total offering of ourselves, where we recognize how, everything depends on that divine only. But that is not like a passive surrender as we just studied earlier. It is a surrender of, I will do whatever I'm supposed to do, and I will also know that I am truly powerless to control the outcome. I will sow the seed because that is my job, but the tree is not coming because I sowed the seed. The tree is coming because of many things beyond my control. So that is what helps me totally offer and surrender. Very, very important. So the final Sharanagati basically means, it's very important. The final stage is, you shouldn't be proud of even surrendering, because there are some people who will proudly say, I have completely surrendered to God. Whatever happens, God will only take care. I'm a child of God, I'm a friend of God, I'm a special of God, and now God is only taking. But there is some kind of pride that comes in there. That is why in the past I used to, very gently, jokingly taunt people, saying, no, you're not special. Because the moment we think we are special, that also is a kind of pride. Because some people feel special because they have surrendered. I'm a surrendered soul. But then the last stage is beware, because Maya works in very, very tricky ways. And the final stage is, even that pride should not be there. The pride of surrendering. Then you can say that you have achieved Sharanagati. See how much is involved. So when Krishna says surrender, how much is involved in that? And also it's a mistake to think surrender means weakness. This is what happens when we don't have knowledge. Without jnana, right at the beginning, before you start the Bhagavad Gita, if somebody came and told you that you have to surrender, what is your initial reaction? What is your initial thought? I can guarantee that the initial thought is the thought of weakness. The thought of, as if surrender means something, act of weakness. something act of giving up, not doing anything. You see? Whereas Krishna's teachings, once we have traveled the journey of Bhagavad Gita through 17 chapters, then now we know that this is not what Krishna means as surrender. It is the exact opposite. Authentic surrender demands a lot of strength, spiritual strength. It's only possible for those who have actually built that kind of spiritual capacity through consistent practice. Otherwise, it's not possible. Just like we said, a beggar cannot say, I'm surrendering all my wealth. What does the beggar have to surrender anyways? Earn righteously and then say, I'm surrendering my wealth. That is surrender. Just like that, the famous poet Rabindranath Tagore, he wrote his very famous poem is Gitanjali. And there, I'm not good in Bengali, but I think it says something like, Amar sakalabal tomara, Ichai samarpan karibara shakti do. It says, give me the strength to surrender my strength to thy will with love. Give me the strength to surrender my strength to you. So it is an act of strength. It's not an act of weakness. So, to truly surrender, we need genuine devotion, we need strong character, we need spiritual understanding, we need inner strength, and we also need consistency in spiritual practices. When all of this come together, that is when we are capable of Sharanagati. Very powerful message. Okay, then Shri Krishna, very beautifully in the final two slokas, he is providing both the path as well as the destination. So this 18.65 is a very powerful sloka.
Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru Mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me.
So let us break it up. It says Manmana bhava. Let your mind be yoked to me. The last session, that's what Sulataji said. Tying your mind to the yoke of God consciousness. The first part. Second part, Mad Bhakto. Become my devotee. Let me be the object of your love. What does that actually mean? Don't run behind and don't waste your time running behind these material pursuits, because they are all temporary, they are all pointless. Third, Madhyaji. Whatever sacrifice you perform, whatever spiritual rites you perform, keep me as the supreme goal. Mam namaskuru. Offer your obeisance to me. Mam eva eshyasi. Then you will achieve me only. Satyam te pratijane. I make this promise to you. See the language. The language is not in my opinion. The language is not I think. The language is I promise. Powerful. And the last part is Priyoshi me. Why he is saying this? Why he is making this promise? Not because he is arrogant. He is making that promise because you are dear to me. How much more touching can it be? You are dear to me, very dear to me. And I am here to guide you. I am your friend. Suhridam sarvabhutanam. That is why I am telling you what is really good for you. See how beautiful this is. It's very, very beautiful. After saying this, he gives us the most popular, prominent, profound command. This is the, you should remember this, you should probably keep this in mind. 18.66.
Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha.
Relinquishing all dharmas, take refuge in me alone. I will liberate you from all sins. Fear not, grieve not. How much more powerful, how much more assuring can a message be? So, see, this is what Krishna is teaching is not just some ancient philosophy, but it gives a lot of practical guidance for us. Because, a lot of us, we are all having a life. We cannot just give up our material duties. We cannot just go into a cave. We cannot become monks or sannyasis. So our spiritual growth has to happen in the context of the family obligations, our careers, our social commitments. And this is where it gives us the opportunity to practice Krishna's teachings. Very powerful teachings he has given. Because what is his core message here? is to change your internal attitude and change your intention. He's not asking us to do anything special externally. He's saying change how your internal bhava attitude is and intention is. And that once you make that change, then all your work, all your relationships, all your responsibilities, they will all become an opportunity for spiritual growth. They will all become an opportunity to express your love and your gratitude. That is so powerful. So powerful. One of the, I would say, irony is especially working people who are having busy careers and all, they will usually say that, my job is very challenging, it is very stressful. That is why I'm not able to find time for spiritual practices. Whereas Krishna says the exact opposite. He says, if your job is challenging and stressful, that is even more important that you spend time in spirituality. Because you need that knowledge and you need that discipline, so that all that stress and all that challenge, you can now transform them into abundant opportunities for growth, spiritual growth. See, in fact, it is a opportunity if you are having a challenging time. So Krishna is pretty much turning the table on us. And he's saying, if you have a challenging situation, that is the best opportunity to practice what I'm saying, and you will progress even faster that way. Very, very profound, very, very beautiful. And Krishna never says you have to avoid becoming prosperous, you have to avoid growing in your career. That's not his message at all. All he's saying is make sure that your growth is aligned with your spiritual development, and make sure that your growth does not become a blockage. That is all he's saying. So transform the work into an offering is what he's saying. So quality and excellence, they have to become an expression of devotion rather than expression of ego. So I'm a leader, I'm doing a perfect job, I'm motivating my team, I'm delivering my products, I'm delivering my services. All that is good. But what is your now bhava? What is your mindset? Is it now I, great, cool? Or is it, I did all of that as an offering. I did all of that as an act of devotion, as an act of service. Now see how the transformation happens. Is the whole message here. So this is so when I say, or when somebody says, be in the world without being impacted, it seems very like, Gyan Baba. Like, what does it mean? But this is what it means, It means it's okay to have intense efforts. It's okay to be involved in your material duties. But what is not okay is doing it in an ego mindset, because that is only going to give you anxiety and burnout. Says, be involved, do all that intense activity, do it. But do it as an offering. Do it as an expression of love. Do it as an expression of gratitude. He says, then see the magic. See, then you will not be impacted. That is renunciation in action. And see the magic. And now you will probably completely understand karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Now that will make so much more sense why Krishna is saying, just do your duty and don't be attached to the results. He never says you should not get results. He never says you should not have good results. You see? You will have to revisit this learning a few more times for it to make complete sense, And as I said again, the most remarkable aspect of Krishna's final teaching is how it brings together all the different spiritual practices he has been teaching, and how it helps us transcend all of that also. When we leave, there's a very, very beautiful statement. I've actually marked this, underlined it, because it says that when we leave everything in the hands of Shri Krishna, we start seeing the hand of Krishna in everything. And that is Krishna's message of surrender. It doesn't mean I'm going to do nothing, like, your family is hungry, oh, Krishna will cook. It's not going to work like that. I'm going to cook, but I'm going to cook with the mindset of love and, with the mindset of offering and the mindset of gratitude and surrender. And the outcome will always be blissful. It will be as if Krishna's presence is there in your food. Krishna's presence is there in the people who eat. Krishna's presence is there in the offering, you see. That is the beauty. And then you will start seeing Krishna's presence everywhere. as if he's doing things for you. Very, very beautiful realization. Because that is the teaching. When your sincere effort is combined with divine grace, then magic is bound to happen. The kind of magic that will only have good as the outcome. Good for you and good for everybody. That is the message here. And the other very, very powerful thing is, see, so this is the karma aspect. You have to do your effort is important, but with the right mindset. So the karma gets transformed when you put surrender into it. Just like that jnana. Jnana gives us viveka. Viveka is discrimination, discernment. We kept talking about Shreya and Preya. That is all a jnana, function of jnana. However, that jnana shouldn't be a source of pride now. That I'm a jnani. The moment you say I'm a jnani, gone. You have missed the whole point of that jnana. No, you have to use that jnana with humility and devotion. Just like that, bhakti is giving us the emotional foundation. That is what helps us give that relationship with God. Now, the very powerful lesson here in Bhakti Yoga is, without love, surrender becomes just resignation. Surrender becomes painful. See, somebody is coming and with a gun in their hand, and they are forcing you to do something. How painful will that be? Doesn't matter what they're asking you to do. They may just be saying, you kneel down and tie my shoe. But they are doing that with a gun in their hand, forcing you. Is that not going to feel painful and kind of insulting and all of that? But the same thing, somebody that you dearly love, you see that their shoelace is untied and they have something in their hands. Won't you voluntarily just bend down, kneel down and tie the shoes for them? No, you will not feel that pain. You will not find it painful. You will find it beautiful. Why? What changed? What changed was both were acts of surrender. But the first surrender was based on force, whereas the second surrender was based on love. So the moment love comes in, surrender becomes beautiful. And it becomes one of the most joyful expression of your heart's deepest longing. That is a very, very powerful teaching again. Okay. So I want to quickly just, for the sake of completeness, I want to tell you that a lot of scholars, a lot of acharyas have explained all of this, but they have all explained it in different ways. So I want to very quickly, one or two lines, give you an idea of what they teach. Like Adi Shankaracharya, he is the great advocate of Advaita Vedanta. You all know him, right? And so when the way he presented Krishna's message of abandon all dharmas, that same 18.66, the way Shankaracharya will say is, he will say that is about renunciation of the ego sense of being the doer. According to him, that is what Krishna is asking us to surrender. Because what is Advaita? Advaita says you and God are the same. So if you and God are the same, then there is no sense in saying I am the doer, because there is no I. You are God. So he is taking that very philosophical approach there. That is Shankaracharya's take. That is what he says, Aham Brahmasmi iti nishchayena stitah. That is established with the conviction that I am Brahman. So that is how, his message is, the illusion will dissolve. Then the other great Acharya, Ramanuja Acharya, he offers a relationship-centered interpretation. He will say that when Krishna says, surrender all dharma, he is not asking us to reject spiritual practices, but he is only saying that reject the ownership of that practice. So, what he's saying also, if you put it in a different way, he's saying that when we are offering anything to God, don't do it with the sense that you are offering and you are going to earn some merit. Like, don't do it with the sense that now I am being charitable, so it's going to give me punya, or I am doing something so that it's going to, help me grow spiritually. These are all still tied to some. He's saying instead of that, you should just say, whatever I'm doing just because it's going to please my beloved. That is how Ramanuja Acharya approaches this statement of surrender. Surrender all dharma. And then Madhavacharya, another great Acharya, his interpretation, he takes the angle of complete dependence on divine grace. Where he says that, what do you mean you are surrendering? He's saying, because this is what Chitra was asking the other day. Because Madhavacharya says that even your capacity to surrender is also a function of divine grace only. If there was no grace of God, you cannot surrender also. So Madhavacharya takes that kind of a perspective. And then if you look at how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presents it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that surrender, when Krishna says surrender all dharma, it is the flowering of exclusive devotion that transforms us into Krishna's beloved companion. Anirvachaniya prema swarupa, the nature of indescribable love. So he's saying this surrender is fundamentally about entering into a relationship. He's saying that surrender is not a state, it is not an achievement. Surrender is not something that you do as a spiritual practice. He says, when Krishna says surrender all dharma, it is basically a call to become the beloved of Krishna. See, this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So from his perspective, basically you are just opening your heart to Krishna's love. That is what is meant by surrender. You see how these many acharyas have all given slightly different perspectives, but at the core, now if you go back to what we just learned, which was Krishna's teaching, he's integrated all of this. He's integrated all of these teachings into one package. Where Krishna said that wisdom, devotion, grace, love, he said they are all essential parts of complete surrender. They are not competing forces. They are all parts. They are all, so profound, Because he's saying, that is what I mean by surrender. When I say complete surrender, it's going to result in complete liberation from all limiting karma. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyasmi ma shuchaha. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. He's promising. Why he's using this statement here? Because if you look at your own self, if we look at our own inner self, we will realize that this is one of the deepest human anxieties. The human anxieties is, I have sinned. I have made a lot of mistakes. I'm not perfect. I'm not pure. How is it possible that I'm going to succeed spiritually? Is it really possible? Can I really get realization? Can I really get liberation? A lot of us have this. In Western religions, they will openly, use this statement many times. We are all sinners. But that gives rise to this kind of anxiety, stress. Where that is what Krishna is taking care of. By saying that when you do or when you practice this kind of surrender, I will deliver you. You don't have to worry. You just focus on your surrender and I will take care of your deliverance. This is my promise. Beautiful. So, we discover that what began as a conversation about duty and warfare, this is how it all began. Now it has transformed into the most profound revelation about the nature of existence, consciousness, love. Isn't it so sophisticated? Isn't it so deep, so profound? And also this apparent tension between effort and grace, all of that Krishna has so beautifully clarified and provided such deep, profound insights into all of this. He has given us the map now. He has given us the complete manual. He says that we are already loved. We are already loved unconditionally. Not because of something we have achieved. Just because that is the nature of the Supreme. The nature of the Supreme is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. The nature of the Supreme is ever loving. He is an unconditional lover. So that should encourage us to practice that kind of surrender, because as we just discussed 2 minutes ago, when surrender is based on love, it is going to be pleasurable, it's going to be joyful. And Krishna is making us understand that that is his nature and he already loves us unconditionally. So that surrender should be a completely joyful activity. So in complete surrender, Shri Krishna is promising that we will discover what? Are we going to discover some kind of a loss? Are we going to lose something because we are surrendering? No. We are going to discover infinite expansion. We are going to discover eternal life. We are going to discover liberation, freedom. It's not just poetic, okay? This is the accurate description of the transformation that Krishna has spoken about. This transformation will happen when we are aligned. That is all Krishna is saying. Align with the divine will. It's like, you are the captain of a ship in olden days. Just align your sail. The wind will do the job of carrying your ship. You don't have to struggle and you don't have to try to carry your ship ahead. Just align and let the divine do the, it's so beautiful. So there could be some questions. See, the point is, again, the difference between jnana, vijnana. Krishna has explained about 1,000,000 attributes of honey, but until we taste it, we will never realize what honey is. Just like that, all these teachings, they are beautiful, they are all profound, but they are going to mean something only if we integrate them in our lives, integrate them in our own spiritual journey. So we can have some questions that can guide us. So I have 4 questions. The first question: what would our daily lives look like if we completely trusted in divine protection and guidance? It's a very powerful question. You have to think about it deeply. So the question is saying, if you totally believe, if you totally have faith that you are protected, that divine guidance is with you, then how will your everyday experience change? Second question: how would your choices, your relationships, your priorities, how will they change if you genuinely believed that surrendering your will to the divine will always bring the greatest fulfillment and the greatest good for everybody? How will that change? Ask that question. Very powerful question. Third question: what kind of fears or attachments do we have to release to experience this kind of surrender and freedom and joy? That is something that each one of us has to ask ourselves. What is holding us back? What is that fear? And then go back and ask the first 2 questions. Do you believe that God's protection exists? Do you believe that God really will care for you? Then all of these questions will flow into each other. And then the 4th question: how can we begin practicing the 4-fold path? What is the 4-fold path? Divine remembrance, devotion, worship, and surrender. How can we practice it? How can we put it into practice? Go back to the teachings that we just had today, and that will give you a guideline, and then try to implement that in your day-to-day life. Because initially, whatever fears we had about this concept of surrender, it will actually prove to be the most liberating and experience ever, most joyful experience ever. And see, also the most amazing part of Krishna's teaching is how accessible it is. You see, did we ever talk about here what gotra you should be, or what caste you should be, or what religion you should be in order to get His love? He speaks about unconditional love. He speaks about being present in everybody's heart. So this knowledge, this teaching is accessible to everybody. Very, very powerful. And in the end, Krishna's teaching is bringing us back to the most fundamental truth. The fundamental truth that we are all not isolated beings who are struggling alone in a cold universe, the way some materialist would like to look at it. Instead, we are beloved expressions of the same divine consciousness. We are part and parcel of that same divine consciousness, but this feeling of being separate, this feeling of being alone is only because of our forgetful nature, because we have forgotten our true nature, not because that is reality. So the whole point of spiritual teaching is to help us remember who we truly are. The point of Krishna's teaching is not to help us become somebody. It is to just help us remember who we truly are. It is, once we start remembering even a little bit, it will going to be transformative, not just for us, but it will transform our relationships, our communities, and that is how you can transform the whole world. Because as more and more people, as they discover the freedom and fulfillment of such surrender, automatically the world becomes a better place. So this is Krishna's ultimate gift. The gift of love, gift of transformation, gift of protection. So with that, I will stop talking. Hare Krishna. As I said, I know I've taken a lot of time, but as I told you, this is probably one of the most profound sets of teachings. So with that, I will stop talking. Hare Krishna, and I will open the floor. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, everything is welcome. Or if you're all tired because we spent too much time, I'm okay with that also. I can let you all go. I know we have taken a lot of time today. So if you need time to introspect, go ahead and, So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hope this helps all of you. And let us all evolve together, and let us all taste the bliss of this surrender and realization. Hare Krishna.